Who was your first crush? My neighbor. I distinctly remember hoping he'd notice me in my bathing suit. He was 17. I was 7. Edit to add. He didn't notice me. Thank God. Boy in my class. Lasted way too long. Fancied him from the ages of 8 to 13. I annoyed the ever-loving shit out of that poor kid. Joe, if you can see this, I'm so fucking sorry. Orlando Bloom. The Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean movies were my obsessions for several years. For more reasons than one. Doofenshmirtzdotter. Winnie Cooper. Then Topanga. Girl from Leg Shaving commercial. Ty Lee. This kid named Ben in first grade. I remember chasing hottie boys being like, haha, if you don't run I'll kiss you. Then he was like, okay eyes, and I was like, aw sick, that's nasty, ew. Smooth moves on my part, 10 out of 10. Zuko from Avatar, The Last Airbender. Jennifer Connelly in Labyrinth. I wanted her to babysit me. Edit, hold up. I'm only now just realizing what a terrible babysitter she was. She sold her own brother to David Bowie's codpiece. Victoria? I told this story recently about when I expressed my feelings to her. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, we took a field trip to the Field Museum here in Chicago. During our lunch break, and I wandered off to the gift shop to see what they had. I had a huge crush on this girl named Victoria in my class, and I saw this ladybug ring for a couple of dollars. I knew she liked ladybugs, and I had money my parents gave me to buy something at the shop. So I decided to buy the ring and give it to her. I was really nervous and kept waiting for the right time to do it. I eventually decided to just go for it and walked up to her near the end of the trip. She was with some of her friends, which made me more nervous. But I found the courage to do it. She looked at the ring and laughed. Her friends joined her, and she then tossed the ring in the trash. I was completely devastated and tried hard to hold back my tears. Even though I'm over it now. That completely fucked my confidence with girls for a long time. Looking back, I may have embarrassed her to giving it to her in front of her friends. Which is why she reacted that way. But even still, it was pretty bullshit for her to just toss it in the trash in front of me like that. Depends on how you want to word it. When I was 4, there was a girl, Melissa, in my pre-kindergarten that we said we were going to run away, get married and live in an RV. Then there was Jennifer 2 years later. The twins after that. Then Gina. Then Maria. Then Kristen. Then Summer. Then Heidi. List kind of goes on. Gordon Ramsay. Don't ask. Emma Watson. Both Annabeth Chase and Percy Jackson. At the same time. Carly. Let me be honest with you. Jack Sparrow. Raven from Teen Titans, or Artemis from Young Justice. Misty from Pokémon. A girl named Christy I met while camping with my family. We went to the county fair together and hung out the whole week we were camping. We actually kept in touch for a long time. But she lived like 2 hours from me, and I was like 12 at the time, so it's not like I could just go meet her. I went to see her once. It was awkward. She had a daughter and I was a 20-something dumbass in the Air Force. Disney's Robin Hood the Fox. Kim Possible. Agent 99. Brittany, I don't remember her last name. She was my neighbor and we had little crushes. I broke my arm walking across a fence trying to impress her. Then her friend moved into the neighborhood and convinced her to knock on my door and throw berries at me, yelling that they didn't want to be friends with me anymore. I blame all my commitment issues on this moment. The King of Queens was my favorite show due to my massive crush on Leah Remini. She was delicioso. Elizabeth Shue from Karate Kid. So cute in those short shorts and sweatshirt. That was a crush that lasted for a really long time too. Adventures in Babysitting. Back to the Future 2. Etc. Elizabeth Shue. Kelly Kapowski. The Pink Power Ranger. Alex Mack. Princess Leia. Carrie Fisher. As a normal boy, it was a different crush a month. But I still remember Vicky from the 2nd grade and her beautiful smile. Angelina Jolie as a 4-year-old girl. I should have known. You. General Kenobi. And I'm not even joking. She was an emo anime fangirl I met in 5th grade. She was also really rude to me and was in love with my best friend who refused to even acknowledge her existence. Good times Ming back and forth over Gaia Online. Kylie Minogue. Yes, I'm old. Jessica Alba. Mark Hamill when he played Luke Skywalker. Love Star Wars growing up. I watched it a lot on VHS whenever my folks and I would go to Blockbuster to rent movies. My best friend's older sister. God, was she pretty. That fucking girl dog from a Goofy movie. Elizabeth Sisson. I really liked her smile. We were both in the 4th grade. I either never told her or I blocked the memory of the rejection. Zelda from Skyward Sword. I hate to admit, but it might have been my cousin. Around those times I also had crush on a 1-year older girl from my neighbor with who I spent almost whole summer together. I just can't recall which one of these was first. I watched some violent movies when I was a little kid. As a result, Alyssa Milano in Commando. A boy named Jonathan who lived next door to my grandparents' house. I was 8 and he was about 11. My brother and I spent a lot of time at our grandparents' house growing up, and they lived in an area with no kids, so we would often play with Jonathan when we were there, and I had the biggest crush on him for about 2 years. Neva Campbell. Even though everyone is mentioning their animated and celeb crushes, the post doesn't say it has to be from that category. My first real human crush was a girl named Emily. She had nice dark skin and soft hair that reached her shoulders. I met her in elementary through my friend's girlfriend who actually became my best friend. Emily though, she was a difficult girl. She really didn't like interacting with others, and when she finally felt comfortable around me she would just tease me endlessly. It still never made me shake off my feelings, because she and I had braces. Sometimes I would say dream some weird things. One of them was that I would accidentally trip and fall on her and end up getting our braces tangled. I had very weird thoughts back then. Unfortunately, nothing ever happened, and my image of her was finally ruined when she became stuck and sure of herself. I don't think she ever even considered me a friend. Brett Drive. Doofenshmirtz's daughter. My best friend in 3rd grade. She also liked me at the time, but my other friend liked her too. So it was a full-on 3rd grade love triangle. I'm just a squirrel. Daniel Radcliffe. I was 5 years old. Ms. Bianca from The Rescuers. David Bowie. I'm 37. It was a labyrinth thing. Niall Horan. He was such a cute, funny little blonde kid. Kellen something. 2nd grade in Mrs. Anderson's class. Blonde hair, blue eyes. He was the best in class at multiplication. Then one day I beat him in a little multiplication game we played as a class. Then I started crushing on math. I now work as an estimator. The person I married. Clarissa explains it all in Winnie from Wonder Years. Aaron Carter as a 7-year-old girl. I Want Candy was my jam. Azula from Last Airbender. She turned out to be gay. No, I don't want to talk about it. Rachel Lively. She wore a Tweety Bird one-piece. She lived in the neighboring town, but she saw her dad on the weekend and he lived right by the pool. I saw her every Saturday for a whole summer at that pool. Rode my bike so fast to see her. Then vanished. We chased each other around the grass. She tricked me into kissing her. My first kiss on the playground. She used one of those finger trap things that you open and close a bunch, then open up to see what it says. It said hug. She said, let's play again. Was kiss. Kissed. Damn. Best moment of my 12-year-old life. Wonder what happened to her sad face. We would lie in the grass holding hands looking up at the clouds. Nowhere to be. Nowhere to go. Pre-phones and none of that. Just would lay there. Damn. A girl in 3rd grade named Laura. I was too scared to tell her how felt. I was afraid of being made fun of. And she was always surrounded by her friends, and I was a bit of an outcast due to my erratic behavior caused by ADHD. I remember thinking she was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen at the time. My favorite thing about her was her long black hair, and she was a smart student. I would have stupid fantasies of winning her over in class. We never really talked, but I remember cherishing every moment I had around Het, whether it was a class project, a field trip, or if we sat next to each other during an assembly. Every chance I'd get, I would try to prove myself to her by trying to be funny. But I end up being awkward. Haven't seen her since elementary. Don't know where she is or what she is doing. I hope she's happy though, and content with her life. I wouldn't want to meet her again. She most likely wouldn't remember me anyways. And seeing her would only bring back bad memories of elementary school. Of the times I was bullied for my awkward behavior. I would hate myself if she remembered that. Sora from Digimon, Jet from Gladiators, Starfire, John Smith and Pocahontas, my ex, the early 20s guy fixing our roof. I was 7. I was a weird kid. I had crushes on 50% of my dad's friends. In my entire life I have had crushes on only 4 boys that were my age range. Did I have daddy issues? I think I had daddy issues. Redacted. Nala from Lion King. I was maybe like 5 years old. Tom Hiddleston. I was young and loved him to bits. I still love him but not as a crush. Looking back on those days now, I cringe very hard. I don't know if I should tell her name, but I met her in kindergarten. It was called Jarden where I was at the time. She always held hands with this other kid I didn't like, but when he wasn't there she'd hold mine. Eventually, when we were in 2nd grade her mother passed away, and she changed school. Never saw her again. Hope she's doing alright. That other kid got into drugs and tbh fuck that guy. I was 16 in 1962, went to see Ursula Andress and Dr. No. Loved her ever since. Her name was Grace. She had a penis. Bobby from Dallas. I was about 9. Laughing face. My first matching my orientation crush was Claudia Cardinale in Once Upon a Time in the West. Yolanda. I was 7, she was 8. Half black, half German, and all I remember thinking of as a kid was how lucky I was that she lived next door and that she always wanted to hang out with me. She was even my first kiss. The blonde girl in short shorts that I sat next to in grade 6. Background: I moved from a super religious country to the West. Had never seen blondes in real life. And more importantly, I had never seen girls in short shorts. She was the most beautiful thing 11-year-old me had ever laid eyes on. Lol. Danny DeVito. Leslie from Bridge to Terabithia. You can probably understand why I don't like that movie. Miles. He was a kid in my 4th grade class that looked like a mini Milo Thatch. He became homeschooled in 6th grade. Helena Bonham Carter. When I first saw her as Bellatrix, his name was Michael. I made a mix CD full of sad songs from musicals. Think I'm Not That Girl from Wicked and On My Own from Les Mis. And would lie in my bed crying because he didn't like me. Middle school was rough. Once, when I was 12 or so, I opened up too many drawers on a tall toolbox. Sailor Mercury. I was probably 6 or 7. Wednesday Addams. Imagine it. Kindergarten. His name was Dusty. He had blonde hair and wore a leather jacket to school every day. Unfortunately, he was also a little violent. He enjoyed throwing chairs across the room and at kids, sticking gum in kids' hairs, and writing on his desk in permanent markers. Needless to say, Dusty didn't come back after kindergarten. I have no idea what happened, but the teachers said he went to a school designed for him. Hope he's doing good in life now. Howl from Howl's Moving Castle. The original emotionally unavailable fuckboy. Mila Kunis. During that 70s show I remember drawing tons of pictures of her and realizing she was it, rolling on the floor laughing. A girl in my Daisy troupe. We had a pretend wedding at the park. My stuffed moose officiated. Classmate. Brains and beauty. And manners. Too bad I'm an ugly idiot. I debuted her. April O'Neil and the Pink Ranger.